and welcome back to another day of financial literacy. I am excited to continue to educate and pour into you as much as possible knowledge so that you can make educated and sophisticated decisions about your finances. So thank you for joining me today. I am tremendously excited to dive into our conversation today where we're going to be talking about 401ks, small businesses, small business employees and employers. Now, before we get started, I have an ask, which is let's share knowledge. I'm asking that you take this moment now, if you are watching this live, to click on that arrow and share this in your post, in your stories, in your feed, in your social media, and send it to your friends and family's inbox. The more people we share this with, the more people we are sharing knowledge with. So share, share, share. If you're watching this recorded, I recommend you share this as well. You're watching it on YouTube, copy that link and send it to your friends and family. Put it on your social media. If you're watching it recorded on Facebook as well, share it, because the more we share knowledge, the more educated our community and society is going to be. So I'm excited to get started and tell you a little bit more about what we're going to be discussing, but I have that ask, share, share, share. And so I am going to go ahead and introduce a little bit about me, who I am, and then we'll go into my presentation. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I would love to connect with you and be able to answer your questions and see how I can help you. So my name is Glisette Torres, and I am a mother of 2 girls. I have a supportive husband. I am a financial consultant. I'm an educator, also accounting. So I'm a woman of many trades, but I have an extreme passion for financial literacy and to provide knowledge to my community. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started because we are going to have a really interesting discussion on financial literacy. Specifically, we are going to be talking about understanding the downsides of 401k when it comes to small businesses. Now, if you're reading this and you're saying, well, Glisette, I am not in a small business. I do not work for a small business employer, nor am I a small business employer, so this doesn't apply to me. I want to let you know that there is important information that is going to be discussed throughout this presentation, that if you currently participate in a 401k or your employer offers it and you're kind of hesitant because you really don't understand it, you just know that everybody falls into it, everybody takes it, and you're just following the multitude, then I ask you to just stay tuned, because there is information that is pertinent to you if you have a 401k or thinking of accepting it with your employer. Now, if you are a small business and you do not offer anything, we're going to be able to explain a little bit in detail why is it that you do not offer it and what other options are available. And so before that, who do I serve and who do I help? I help individuals, families, and small businesses or businesses prepare and protect their financial future and the unexpected so that they can live and leave a lasting legacy. Everything we do is to be able to provide for others, for our family, for our children, our loved ones, and to be able to live a life where we enjoy ourselves. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. But first, what is a 401k? This is something I've heard for years. Glisette, I have no idea what it is. And so I'm going to go ahead and break it down to you by reading this information from the IRS page. And then we're going to discuss it together and give you my insight on this. So the first thing is, It says here, a 401k is a feature of a qualified profit sharing plan that allows employees to contribute a portion of their wages to an individual account. That is sentence one. Now let's go ahead and break down a few words here. The first thing I see here is it says it's a qualified account. What does this mean, qualified? Well, qualified is a term that is used for qualified to be taxed. To be taxed because you have not paid taxes on this money. When you contribute to a 401k, you are contributing pre-tax dollars, which means you have not paid the IRS or the government. So you are qualifying your money to be taxed in the future. Now it says a profit sharing plan. What a profit sharing is, that is a company may share their profits with you to your 401k individual account. And when I say may, that does mean exactly what it says. It means they may or may not. And so we'll talk about that in the next bullets. And so here it says, elective salary deferrals are excluded from the employee's taxable income, exception for designed Roth deferrals. So what does that mean? Let's go ahead and discuss. The first part is that you are electing, that means you are choosing to defer your salary to a later date, which means that reduces your taxable income. So let's just go ahead and put numbers to it so this can make a little bit more sense. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. That is your income, right? That is your gross income. However, you contribute to your 401k and you contribute $20,000 a year. This means that your taxable income, the income tax that you are going to fill usually between January and April, is going to be of an income of $80,000, not $100,000. So that is what this is saying. You're electing to future date the taxes and reduce your income today, but you're going to pay it in the future. And that future is unknown. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's go ahead with the next bullet point. It says employers can contribute to employees' accounts. Now, when it says employers can contribute to employees' accounts, it's exactly what I mentioned. They have the choice to contribute or the choice to not contribute. So if you are currently a small business employer, and you have been thinking about a 401k, but you're not sure, or you are an employee and your employer may or may not contribute, they have legally the option to say, I'll offer you a 401k, but I am not contributing into your 401k. Or I'm offering you a 401k and I will match. If you put $5,000, I would match $5,000, but they can also add restrictions to that. And I'm going to give you an example because this is important for you to understand. You can have an employer that asks for you to be vested after a certain amount of time. What does that mean, being vested? Well, let's say company A, you work with company A, and company A matches $5,000 for each $5,000 you put per year. But they ask that you stay with the company for 5 years before that money is completely yours. It's vested. So let's say you worked for this company 4 years. 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, you have $20,000 there. And then all of a sudden you were surplused. That means that the company reduced employees and your position is no longer available, or you got a better opportunity elsewhere. And so you decided to jump ships and move on to a different opportunity. All the contributions from your employer, you will lose because you are not fully vested. You have not worked the minimum requirement years so that they can give you their contributions. Now, employers, keep in mind that any contributions you offer to your employees, you will be getting tax benefits, tax credits, write-offs. So this is something that benefits employers. However, that part is really important to understand, that they can contribute, but they're not obligated or mandated by anyone to contribute to a 401k. Now, distributions, including earnings, are included in a taxable income at retirement, except for qualified distributions designed for a Roth account. Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss this one because this one is really important. What this one is saying, let me make it bigger for you, is that you will be taxed on the distributions, on the income that comes in retirement. This includes the earnings. So if you put $5,000 and they put $5,000 and that money grows, and let's say that at the end of retirement you put $300,000, your employer puts $300,000 and it grew to $1 million, you will be paying taxes on every single cent at retirement age. And this is very important to understand because you are basically gambling on your money, because you do not have a magic ball that tells you how much taxes will be in the future. You do not know how the market's going to perform. And there's so many uncertainties when we take this path. Now, I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and move on. And so 401ks, when did this started? What is the information? Let's talk about it. So Ted Benna is what we call in the financial industry the father of 401ks. A 401k was introduced as legislation in 1978. As he says, it was a flimsy fluke, one sheet paper that talked about the benefits of profit sharing and having employees being able to contribute to an individual account. It was actually for people to supplement pensions and Social Security. It was never intended to substitute it. And he'll talk about it in this short video a little bit. But it is key to understand that this was not created to become a pension or retirement plan by any means. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and play this video for you so you can hear it from the father of 401k.
So we get the 401k in the late 70s. You devised the plan that now we refer to you as the father of the 401k. And at the end of your book, many years later, 4 decades plus, you write, income adequacy will continue to be a major issue in the years ahead. In fact, every retirement system in existence will probably be severely tested. Does that include the current state of 401ks, in your opinion?
No question, Adam. It was never intended to be the primary vehicle for saving for retirement. And it was only a page and a half long. It was a little fluky thing stuck in an end of year tax bill. But all these plans are subject to the ups and downs of the stock market, and it's very obvious with 401ks. But what people who are in pension plans don't realize is they have the same financial risk. They just don't know it. They're not aware of it.
And with a 401k, at least you have I don't want to say the illusion, because you actually do have some control over where that money goes. But if you were going to make recommendations to improve the 401k system today, what would you recommend?
Many people at retirement are going to have to make some really tough decisions about how to make this provide an income for their life for 20, 30 years. And one way to do that is what is called a guaranteed monthly lifetime income annuity. And I would like to see a tax break, for retirees, maybe the first 1,000 to 2,000 a month that they lock in a guaranteed lifetime income annuity, they wouldn't have to pay tax on it.
Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead and discuss a little bit about what Ted mentioned there in this short interview. So the first thing is, he clearly said that 401ks are going to be tested throughout the next years. And it is because it was never intended to be a retirement plan. He clearly said this was a one-pager, that he saw a loophole, and he said, you know what? We can add this to our portfolio. But this was never intended to be a vehicle to substitute pensions or substitute Social Security. And so this is going to be severely tested because there is so many uncertainties, which is something that mentioned the other host. He said, well, it has the illusion that you have control. You do have some control. What he means by that is you do have some control, because if you understand how investments work, you can go into your 401k account with whatever company that manages it, and you can then invest in different stocks if you know how to do this, but you only can invest in whatever is available to you through that management company. Now, if you have no idea what this even means, and you're not going to be diligent to be constantly tracking this, then you have no control. And keep in mind, you do not have control of your earnings. You do not have control of when you can pull this out. You do not have control of how much you get at retirement. So there's so many components that you do not have control over. And so you have to figure out at the moment of retirement, how are you going to make the money that is in these accounts last for you? And if you're already retired and you have money in a 401k, we can help you with what he said, an annuity, where annuity offers you the opportunity to have a lifetime income with the money you have set aside. But right now, there is no legislation that is offering you the opportunity to have any tax incentives. So you are paying full taxes on whatever tax bracket you fall in when you retire. And so all of these things are very complex, as you can see, for a small business employer to be able to put these in place. But I'm not going to go ahead. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see another interview that he had. And I'm going to make this nice and big so that we can go over it. So in a different interview, and if you look at the title, it says traditional 401k plans are too complex, expensive for small businesses. And you're welcome to research this information. He has books on this, and you can find this interview on YouTube. But it says here, close to half of the private workforce doesn't have the opportunity to save via a payroll deduction. Traditional 401k plans are too complex and expensive for small businesses. With pending legislation, there needs to be a greater awareness of 401k alternatives. Now, let's go ahead and break this down. What does this mean? Well, a study that was done in 2023, so almost a year ago, says that about 57 million employees and small business employers do not have any type of retirement plan. Zero, none. That is a crisis. And if you want more information, I do recommend you watch last week's video because I go in depth and talk a little bit about that. So this is 57 million, and it's probably more now. Why is it probably more now? We have many people choosing to be their own business owner, their entrepreneur. They want to have their own business, and they're opening shop. And so they're creating, right, a business, but they do not have anything in place for when they decide to stop working. And they do not have anything in place to retain and keep their employees because they're not offering benefits. And retirement benefits is one of the most important benefits that people look for and seek when they are choosing an employer, and choosing an employer that they want to work for in the long run. Now, a traditional 401k plan is too complex and expensive. It is. There's fees, there's regulations, there are many things that are required. We'll talk about that in the next slide so that you can kind of understand why you as a small business owner, you don't even think about it. And employees, if you work with a small business and you are wondering, why is it that, there's 10, 20, 30 employees and we have nothing? Well, this is why. It is intended for big corporations because small businesses cannot afford the complexity and the costs associated to having a retirement plan like this in place. And clearly, his last bullet point says that there has to be some type of legislation where there's awareness, and it's already started. There are states where it is required and mandatory, even if you are a small business owner that has 2, 3, 4 employees, to have a retirement plan for your employees. And you do not have to go the 401k route where it's going to cost you headache. It's going to cost you legalities that you don't know about, and fees. There are options where you can literally bypass that complexity. But we have to educate ourselves and take control over this and not wait until we either get fined because it's put into law and we didn't take action, or we get to retirement and we have no funds to retire, so we have to work until we die. There are options available. If you have 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30 employees, less than 50, where you do not have to have all these fees to give your employee benefits. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some extra cons that are there. Let me share my screen completely about 401ks. So what are some cons about 401ks? Well, as I mentioned in the last slide, they're extremely complex in legalities. So if you don't have a lawyer as part of your employees, you don't have a legal department, or you don't want to hire out a lawyer to be able to understand these things, then you're going to shy away from giving your employees these benefits, or even you acquiring these benefits. Because let's face it, if you are a small business owner, you also have to put something in place for yourself. Now, fees are too expensive, right? So the expenses that are associated to 401k are high. Why are they high? Well, let's talk about management. You need a TPA, a third-party administrator, to manage your 401k. You need a management firm to manage your 401k. You need an advisor to determine where they're going to invest the money in, because employees are not going to go in and say, well, I want to invest in X stock and X stock and Y stock, because a lot of employees don't even understand that, and they're not interested in understanding it either. And you as a business owner or an entrepreneur are not interested in learning that, because you are interested in putting your 100% effort in growing your business, not becoming an advisor. And so a lot of people in essence, are shying from this because you need a group of people to offer a retirement plan like a 401k. So you need to have in your back office and people that are working to administrate this so you can offer it as a benefit. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned, 401ks they were never intended to substitute for a pension plan. The idea of it was, let's just say, have an extra savings account where you can put the money in payroll tax. So basically payroll deductions, which means basically they're pulling it out of your money before it hits your bank account. That was really it. It was intended to have an extra fund of money to add to your pensions. But employers took this as, well, I don't have to worry about a pension now. I just put it on the employee and you go ahead and save for your retirement. And so a lot of people worked for employers for years and they offered their loyalty and worked there 20, 30, 40 years in exchange for a retirement pension. So they didn't have to worry about, when I retire, where is my income going to come from? However, what happened when this loophole was discovered by Ted was that they saw it as an opportunity to remove the responsibility. When I say they, the employers, the companies, remove the responsibility of providing a pension for their employees, and they put the responsibility back on the employees. You want money for retirement? Then you contribute, and I may or may not offer you contributions, and I'm going to determine under what terms. And so the intent behind this was not that, but this is where we are now, which is why as a nation we are in a huge crisis, because we are seeing that after the baby boomers, the reality is the majority of Americans or workers in America do not have sufficient money to stop working when they're 65 or 70. Now, paying taxes at retirement. That is something that many people believe it's going to be beneficial, but in my opinion, and many other financial gurus out there and studies have been made where it's not. And let me explain why. Currently, taxes are the lowest they've ever been in history. And they are destined to grow. And they're going to go up. Why? If you look at our national debt, and you can go into nationaldebt.org, we are over $34 trillion in debt. And that has to come. We have to pay that with taxes. So taxes have to increase so that the nation can continue to stay afloat. And so right now, you have the choice to pay taxes at a low income bracket, where you also have tax credits, because many people that are working now have children. And if you have children, you get tax credits when you are filling your income tax. You have a home that you still pay for, so you have tax credits because you're a homeowner that is paying interest on your home. You probably have student loans if you've decided to go to college, and you can add that. So you have certain expenses that the government and the IRS permits you to put as tax credits to lower your taxable income. When you retire, usually the expectation is that you've paid off your house, so you do not have that tax credit. Your children are all adults. You probably have grandchildren, so you do not have that tax credit. You probably paid off your student loan, so you do not have that tax credit. And what happens is that all of a sudden, even though your income in retirement is less, you are at a higher tax bracket because you do not have deductions and credits on your income tax. And so that is reason one. And reason two is that it's probably going to be double what your tax bracket is now. So if you're in a 10% tax bracket, then you're probably going to be in retirement, let's say 20. Do you prefer paying taxes on a 10 or at a 20? What about if you're in a 22? That's 44. Do you want to pay taxes on a 22% or on a 44%? So these are things that are not discussed, and out of sight, out of mind can put us in a danger zone when it comes to retirement, because we're not making income to substitute that money that is coming out that we have to pay Uncle Sam. Now, bullet point here that says no guarantees. That is 100% correct. There is no guarantee of how much money you're going to get at retirement from your 401k. There's no promises. You do not know how many market ups and downs, which we'll talk about in the next bullet point, are going to be there. You do not know or have guaranteed what your tax bracket is going to be at retirement. And so there's no guarantees that you're going to have gain and that your money is going to grow. And of course, it'll grow, but is it guaranteed to grow at what you expect? There's none. And so that comes to market loss, and it's variable. So 2022, there was a market drop over 20%. And so if you had, let's just, to keep it easy numbers, you had $100,000 and the market dropped 20%, you are now at $80,000. And so if the market goes up again, let's say it goes up 20% next year, are you back to 100? Do you have now $100,000? The answer to that is no, because the market went up based on $80,000, not $100,000. So your starting point when the market goes up is less. And this is something you have to take into consideration. All of a sudden, you can lose 20, 30, 40% of the money you have there, and then you're starting all over from that point. You're trying to get back to break even, and that can take you years. So are you willing to accept no guarantees and market loss? Because that is what a 401k offers you. So here, if we look at that, the benefit of a 401k is with Wall Street, is with the companies that administrate this and manage it, is with the advisors, because they get paid even if you win or lose. And so you have to take that into consideration. And if you're a small business employee, is that something you want to offer to your employees, knowing that you're paying all these expensive fees and going through all these legalities to still put yourself and your employees in a position where they might lose your contributions and theirs? Are they going to lose 100%? We hope not. But we have seen market go down 39, I believe it's, if my history is not wrong, 38, 39% in 2008. And less than 2 years ago, the market went down, I believe it was over 23%. And so these are realities that we have to take into consideration. And this is why this vehicle is probably not the best for a small business. Now, another thing is you have to take into consideration age rules, which is a RMD. What is a RMD? It's a requirement minimum distribution. So let's say hypothetically, let's give you a story. You have a, you retired. You retired when you're 65. You have a pension because you still work. Let's say you're a teacher, right? And you have a pension as a teacher, but you also worked in the private sector for a while. So you have a 401k from a previous company. And then because of that, you also had Social Security. And I'm giving you, for example, my example, right? I've had 401ks before, so I'm talking from experience. I currently have a pension as an educator, and I've worked enough to get Social Security because I have my credits. So I retire, let's say I retire when I'm 65, and I am going to take my Social Security and I'm going to take my pension. And so I don't need to tap into my 401k. I'm not touching it. I'm not concerned about it. So perfect. I'll let it grow, right? I'll let it just grow there and hope and pray that the market goes up in my retirement age and that I get more profits from it. Well, yeah, that's not going to work forever. There is a requirement minimum distribution, which means that the IRS, Uncle Sam says, Glisette, you have not paid me the money you owe me, and I gave you permission to set aside this money pre-tax. I gave you the tax benefits of not including it into your taxable income. So now you are 73 and you are required to take out money so you can pay me, Uncle Sam, IRS, my portion of your money because you haven't paid it yet. And if you decide not to, then they penalize you. Now, these numbers may change. Right now, it's 73, but that can move to a lower or higher number in the future. Again, we are in a contract when we take a 401k. We have shaken hands with the government and decided, hey, you put all the terms and conditions, and I decide, I accept that, then you decide how are you going to let me get my hands on my money. Because right now, when you put your money in a 401k, it is the government's money, it's your employer's money, and then it's yours. You are last in this equation. And so there is that requirement minimum distribution that you have to take into consideration. Now, contribution limits. For 2024, it is $23,000. That is the max you can put into this account. Now, maybe your income is a lower and you're like, well, I will never put that amount. But what if you are a doctor and you work for a hospital, or you are a doctor that has a practice and has multiple doctors that work for you and you offer a 401k? You are limited to the max that you are able to put aside for retirement, which is $23,000. And maybe that's not the number you want to put in. You have the funds and the means to put in more money aside for retirement. And so there are vehicles that is not a 401k that do not have a restriction of limiting your contributions. They do not have also a restriction of requirement minimum distribution. You can decide when you can start your distributions, and it doesn't have to be at 65. It can be before or it can be after. Another con is that there is no death benefit. When you pass away, your heirs and your family is going to get whatever is in your 401k after they have gone through probate, if you don't have a trust, and after they have been taxed on that money. And then that is going to count towards your heirs as income for them. So it's going to raise their taxable income and raise their tax bracket when they receive that money. Now, no living benefits. Living benefits are key because we know that the numbers are getting higher and higher on cancer, stroke, heart attack, all these illnesses that we have no control over. And if we have living benefits, we do not have to deplete the money we have in a 401k. There is no control over your savings and accumulation, which means, again, you can lose money, you can gain money, the market can go up and down. And then if you need to tap into that for any reason, there is so many regulations to pull out your money that sometimes it's not even worth it. Maybe they make you go through a hardship and you have to fill out documentation and prove why is it that you need this money. Maybe you take it out as a loan and they have a limitation of how much you can take out. Now, keep in mind, I know this is a retirement account and we want this money for retirement, but there are situations in life where we probably have to touch on that money, even though we're going to put it back, but we need it now to be able to manage a situation, and we have no control over that. The control is in the IRS and your employer. And there is alternatives that make more sense, especially for small business owners or employees that work for a small business. Now, this doesn't mean that if you work for a corporation that offers a 401k and you want to know if there's alternatives for you, they are. This is available for anyone that would qualify. So if you're curious and you are listening to all these cons and you are in that situation, give me a call. I will be more than willing to educate you and see what is your specific situation and scenario. So we're almost done wrapping this up. I wanted to share a little bit about, I'm not sure if you know who Dave Ramsey is. So Dave Ramsey is known in the financial industry as a sort of guru. I don't agree 100% with everything he says. However, with this statement he put out, I do agree. And so he says here, let's just say that you have $1 million in your nest egg at retirement. That's a pretty nice chunk of money. And then this is in a traditional 401k, and you have not paid taxes for that. You will have to pay taxes on every penny when you start withdrawing at retirement. Depending on what tax bracket you are and what the rates are at the moment you retire, you can really be put in a position where you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes that you are paying to Uncle Sam throughout your golden years. And really, this is a hard pill to swallow, especially when you have worked hard for 20, 30, 40, 50 years to have this nest egg. In essence, this is what he says. And I agree 100% with that. He goes on to say that here's something else you should be thinking about. All right. And so we do not know what the tax brackets or tax percentages will change into the future, especially if you are still decades away from retirement. So this is a risk. What is a guarantee is that they have to go up unless our nation will go into bankrupt. So if they have to go up, are you willing to risk and gamble your money to pay taxes in the future when there is options and vehicles where you do not have to risk that? You do not have to risk any market loss, any volatility up and down and up and down. You gain when it goes up and you do not lose when it goes down. And so he goes on to say, like it or not, it's hard to separate emotion from investment, which is absolutely true. When your money goes up, you're excited, you're ecstatic. Oh my God, I made X amount of money. But when it goes down, you get nervous, you are frustrated, you cry, you want to pull your money out. And if it's in a 401k, sorry, but you can't. So imagine getting to retirement and watching that $1 million nest egg reduce to less than $800,000 because of taxes. And it's mentioning taxes, but we have to keep into consideration it's still in the market. So all of a sudden you can lose money from taxes and the market, and you're getting hit on all sides of the spectrum. Now, you rather pay taxes now or later? It says, do you want to pay taxes on $100,000 or do you prefer paying taxes now on $100 of your paycheck? In essence, I agree this time 100% with what Dave is explaining. And again, keeping in mind, rising costs are going to be there when you retire. Your house is you're going to be paying more on property taxes, escalating homes. If you are going to live renting, you have no control over how your rent goes up. Long-term care is a risk, and your health is going to deteriorate with age, and you have to have the funds for this. So it is important for you to find a solution for retirement. If you are a small business owner and you want to offer this to your employees, I can help you navigate this where it's simple, it's easy. You do not have to have a managing firm. You do not need a lawyer to do this. You do not need a team working in the back end. It is very straightforward, and you can decide how you help your employees, and they're going to feel that you are offering them value. They're going to be loyal to you. You're going to avoid that turnover, and you are going to get them prepared and have control over their retirement. It is going to be completely tax-free for the majority of the employees, and you will have benefits like living benefits, like death benefits. So if you want more information, I know this one was a little bit lengthy, please let me know. Think about your future self and put yourself in a position where you are preparing for your future self. You will thank yourself in the future. My name is Glisette Torres, and I am here to serve and educate. If you want more information, you can schedule a call with me. You have those 2 QR codes that will get you in access with me, or you can go ahead and drop down in the comments benefits, and I will get in contact with you. That is letting me know you want more information, and we can set aside time to talk about what is your particular situation, how can I help you, what is available for you, what is it going to look like for you to get something in place for your employees, for you to get something in place for yourself, what are the tax benefits related to that. Just give me a call and we can have a conversation. We can do it through Zoom. We're flexible, and I can get you educated. It is better to make educated decisions than to do things blind and then pay the price at a later time, especially in retirement when you are not physically in a position to continue to provide for yourself. So let me know if you want more information. Type in benefits. I am more than willing to help, and please, let's share this information with friends and family. The more people that are educated, the more prepared our society is going to be when we need it the most, when we're most vulnerable, which is in our golden age. It was a pleasure, and I will see you next week.